Hello, and yeah, welcome to my thoughts on the astrology of 2024, which seems like a pretty electric year with some great dynamism, great healing potentials, and a pretty powerful end of the year in 2024 to look forward to. I should ask before I go on, anyone would mind kind of sh like sharing, liking, or commenting this video, that would be really helpful. Thanks a lot. So, to briefly cover some kind of key dates, Pluto will be going into Aquarius, which is kind of challenging all forms of scientific dogma, um, views of the future that are not resonant with the majority of people, and very much empowering groups in the years ahead, decades ahead. But first of all, he'll go to meet Mars and Venus around Valentine's Day, which seems to be a pretty pivotal point in the early part of the year, as far as I can tell. And also in February, the Chinese astrological New Year is the green wood dragon, which is the luckiest year in the Chinese zodiac. Extremely notable for kind of noble goals, um, great deal of power and initiative and innovation. Another highlight of the year is 20th of April, when Jupiter, who's been in Taurus for a few months now, just about to turn direct later on today at 5 degrees Taurus, he will meet Uranus, who's been in Taurus for years now. This is possibly the pivotal aspect of the year, which is great kind of revolutions in Taurian matters like agriculture and finances, land kind of shifts, whether that's kind of countries um, uh, having a revolution or um, land grabs, plenty of things like that in historical terms, which I'll go into later on. Then on the 25th of May, Jupiter enters Gemini until the 9th of June 2025. So this instantly, with Jupiter in Gemini, is very talkative, very communicative, and instantly is a trine with Pluto. So it's, messages can go viral. I would recommend people, communicate them, yeah, particularly in the middle of June, for, maximum impact. And towards the end of the year, Jupiter, with all these big ideas and his exciting kind of curiosity and adventures, uh, will be squared by Saturn in Pisces, and the wise mystic pointing out things that Jupiter should really pay attention before expanding too big. We have our eclipses in March and April. The March eclipse is quite partial, but the one on the 8th of April is a total solar eclipse, total new moon, which seems pretty powerful. Conjunct the North Node in Aries, as well as conjunct retrograde Mercury and Chiron. So, there could be some harsh truths about things that we'd either forgotten about or overlooked. Perhaps old messages might come back, information that we hadn't fully realized the ramifications of before can be found, which will nevertheless help us in our pioneering initiatives, which is what North Node in Aries is all about. In April, Mars will meet Saturn and then Neptune in Pisces, initiating new kind of 2-year phases around building our dreams, looking at the long-term kind of mystical skills and insights that we'd like to utilize and why we'd like to do that. and generally having a more practical approach to our dream building. And then we come to late May, early June, where kind of quite a brutal aspect finishes. It's the asteroid Nessus in Pisces, who's the one whose blood was used to kill Hercules in the Greek myths. Nessus opposing Thereus, the bear hunter of mythology. This is often about people lurking on the sidelines, just not necessarily doing anything to remove their opponent or the person in their way, just waiting for that person to kind of die, and then taking their place to enact their, nasty kind of plans. So this is something that's looking at around May, June, which indicates to me the importance. I should say this has been going on for a couple of years, since late 2022. So like 18 months, 2 years, 18 months. Importance of clearing our entourage, ensuring that we're surrounded by people we're resonant with, processing any kind of martyr, savior kind of programs, and stepping out of the whole victim aggressor field. So this is all things that I'll go in more depth. I'll just covering the things very briefly over the year. At the same time, in early June, there's the Venus star point, which is Venus, the Sun conjunct Venus, about 14 degrees Gemini. So it indicates kind of period of speaking from the heart, great for singing, poetry. And in the same month, there's a grand water trine in the middle of the month, which is great, very emotional time for empathy and intuitive insights, paying careful attention to our dreams, all kinds of psychic insights. In July, 15th of July, Mars moves through Taurus to conjunct Uranus, who's obviously in April had his seismic, very expansive conjunction with Jupiter, and is just thinking how to make all these expansive technological things happen, all these fantastic kind of dietary kind of revolutions. How can we bring them about? And then Mars comes along in July and helps Uranus to take action. Now, later on in the year, September, October, Mars gets into Cancer and goes just about into Leo in December before going retrograde until February 2025. And essentially spends a long period of time in retrograde shadow, end of Cancer, early Leo, second half of Cancer, I should say. And this is going to be a great aspect for reviewing our actions around our home and family in particular, with the long majority of it in Cancer. But it can also be quite temperamental, possibly, with Mars in Leo. But the key part of this is that Mars will oppose Pluto, who's just at the end of Capricorn when Mars first opposes Pluto. And for the second and third oppositions, Mars is in Leo and Pluto is in Aquarius. Now, only the first opposition between Mars and Pluto is this year on the 3rd of November, the second one, 3rd of January, and then later one a few months after that. This could be a highly volatile period. Mars and Pluto represents all kind of great powerful forces impinging on the spontaneity and the activeness of Mars. however, in a high frequency way, this can be extremely helpful for looking at deep kind of patterns of activity and fears, uh, things that we put in our way to stop us taking action, and really processing those key things and stepping out of, perhaps very long-term patterns. So it'd be a very interesting period that towards the end of the year, start of next year. Then we've got some more eclipses in September. The first one of a series in Pisces Virgo axis, which is conjunct Neptune lunar eclipse. So it's very much about scales falling from people's eyes, seeing things a bit more. That could be quite a surreal eclipse, a Piscean one with artistic and creative inspiration, tapping into other realms. And then the eclipse in October is in early Libra, and it's conjunct the South Node, conjunct Black Moon Lilith, who's really quite a kind of uh, uncompromising feminine uh, asteroid who really refuses to accept what anyone else, or what refuses to go along with anyone else's instructions or orders. So very independent. So at that point, we might really see a whole new side to people that we are close to, that we're in partnership with, perhaps. And yeah, it could be shocking. Yeah, it's a bit of a breakup aspect, I would suggest, that eclipse, or sudden changes in partners. Yeah. And then we get to November, and there's a lovely grand fire trine in the final week. Sun gets into Sagittarius. Uh, got the North Node, early Aries. We've got the Mars is just about got into Leo before his long retrograde. So it's a great period of energy and inspiration, creativity at the end of November that can be used very productively, I would suggest. It could be kind of slightly rash in terms of heading off on uh, less well kind of thought out adventures. But this kind of energy of the fire trine, grand fire trine, is always able to start a new exciting project if another thing kind of blows up in his face. Another key aspect I'd like to mention in this kind of very brief opening summary of the year. In late July, Chiron will get to 23 Aries, which is within 2 degrees of Eris, the very disruptive planet that was squaring Pluto and causing all kinds of disruptive possibilities at the start of this decade. Now, this is a kind of trailer for the next couple of years, like 2025, start of 2026 in particular, where Chiron and Eris will be conjunct at the towards the end of Aries, around 25, 24, that kind of area of Aries, which really is indicating huge kind of perhaps painful kind of shifts um, in how people appear around us. It could be even indicate something to do with the shifts of the people's physical health in becomes noticeable in the middle of the year, but particularly 2025, particularly 2026. And right now, the impact of injections is kind of there, but not so well kind of represented in things like the media. But I would suggest by the middle of next year, it'll be really noticeable um, heading into 2025 as well. Okay, so that's my very brief summary of the year ahead. Uh, yeah, as I say, if you enjoyed that, please, I would visit my website, go to my Telegram channel, you know. I do readings for people as well for a reasonable fee. The details are all on my website, also on Etsy, and I think it's a good value offer I'm making for readings, your personality chart, for transits for this kind of period, like this year, years ahead, seeing what kind of useful potentials there are, looking at uh, the houses, for example, like the 12 houses of your chart, where the planets are when you were born, where the planets are now in different charts. So looking at different aspects like physical health, finances, the home, the mind, relationships, career, all kinds of areas are all the different aspects of the chart and astrological guidance. Now I'm going to go through a PowerPoint now with more specific details that you'll be able to refer to back over the year. Let's see if I can do this. So, right. So here we go again. So it's just as I said, this is the year of the wooden dragon. So yeah, it's very good for growth, very good for business, green shoots, green wooden dragon. It's very powerful. And around Valentine's Day, there's some very key aspects actually, which will indicate transformations. Could be a lot of wedding proposals, I would think, around that period, or conversely, sudden kind of breaks in relationships. Great for weddings, I would suggest that day. For we've got the North Node in Aries all year, so enterprise and initiative, pioneering, well starred, and Libra in South Node, so dropping dissonant connections, dropping artistic forms that are no longer resonant. You know, perhaps finally dropping that kind of long-running sci-fi franchise that we've been kind of watching for years. And there's a huge Uranian element with Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, and then Pluto moving, sorry, more firmly into Aquarius before by November staying there for like 20 years. And obviously we've got Uranus turning direct in January. That's huge. And when Jupiter moves into Gemini, middle of the year roughly, that he will work together extremely well with Pluto to help to kind of popularize the Aquarian kind of revolutionary ideas around technology and communities and visions of the future. So there's a lot of aspects around electricity and seeing that more clearly, like perhaps seeing how, say, electronic cars are kind of using forms of technology that are perhaps not as good as we've been led to think, and connected to kind of people being essentially enslaved to find the materials for these kind of devices, and huge rethink starting along in these areas, I would say. Uranus and Pluto indicates again kind of a mass awakening, finding resonant teachers. Like as I say, I would definitely recommend Anelia Benz for a more for a less astrologically based look at the year ahead as well, and in general for kind of awakening and empowerment information. Then there's with Pluto opposing the planet opposing Mars in the sign of the masses, Cancer, late in the year. This also indicates mass awakening through. It's just impossible to ignore the nature of these so-called powerful forces trying to mold large groups of people for their own benefit. So moving on to Pluto and the age of Aquarius. It might even be with 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto, the great eliminator, on 20th of January will, move into Aquarius for, brief trip back into a Capricorn later on in the year. And 19th of November is there for a long, long time. Last year, Pluto was in Aquarius from March till June. So you think about what kind of things came in then. There's lots of publicity about artificial intelligence, this kind of thing. So that's kind of perhaps a kind of plan that uh, various people might have, but want to think, how do we want to use this energy? Um, how do we want to use technology ourselves in a high frequency way? What are we aiming at here? Being more conscious about our technological choices is key. Some potentials, well, Pluto's in Aquarius, next 20 years, I would say power systems revolutionized, free energy, and the investigations into the mad scientists and their bizarre views of health and technology are only just beginning, really. I mean, this is it's going to be a long period of people waking up to. As I say, I recommend people such as Dr. Thomas Cowan on electricity and how it's connected to health. Now, as I said, on Valentine's Day, Mars and Pluto are conjunct, and then Venus is very close as well at that point. So this might be connected to the events that happened around Christmas 2020, when a 20-year cycle began when Jupiter and Saturn also met at 0 degrees Aquarius. So you think about what happened late on in 2020. I mean, for me, this astrology period starts. So, I was thinking like, well, maybe this would be, very, very kind of popular kind of thing, all these astrology uh, uh, kind of videos and Second Life astrology and podcasts and things like that. What kind of things did you begin in your life in that period anyway? And get a kind of systems check. Another thing about this Valentine's Day period, Chiron in Aries is conjunct the North Node, so it indicates huge kind of perhaps painful but life script changing moves. Again, kind of very much solidifying partnerships or relationships or romantic relationships in particular, or them kind of exploding. It indicated around this middle of February Valentine's Day period. As I say, we're in the year of the Greenwood Dragon. So, according to my research into Chinese astrology, which I'm kind of novice in Chinese astrology, but I am actually a monkey in Chinese astrology. So, pretty smart, the monkeys, I find. There's great visionary leaders, the wooden dragons, innovative people, problem solvers, new projects, important to be in integrity with like noble kind of goals, really for the dragons, in particular. And I very much recommend, getting in touch with the dragon, hanging out, making friends. Great people, great kind of, entities. Now, for more detail about Jupiter's conjunction with Uranus, which is, to my mind, the key aspect of the whole year, the key thing, which has, as I will point out, some kind of areas we should be kind of cautious or conscious of. So, Uranus has been in Taurus for about 6 years by this point, and he's been helping us to kind of become aware of like wealth building and becoming more connected to the planet through such things as the Gaia contract, which are another thing I would recommend people look at. I'll put a link about that under this video. But also Taurus is something of a kind of somehow stuck in a rut kind of thing, really. And Uranus is very good at awakening us to exactly where we are stuck in a rut. And it's all very well being aware of these things and conscious, but Jupiter and later on Mars will really help us to get out of those ruts or perhaps value those ruts. Yeah, this is a great rut to be in. Really great rut, really powerful. We might be really happy with our kind of rut that we're in. Like, yeah, why didn't everyone get it? It's great. So, as I say, I looked back at the last time Jupiter and Uranus met in Taurus, which, here in Britain was a pretty bleak time in the middle, like the end, just about the end of the Blitz and the Second World War. Fortunately, Germany had, bizarrely decided in a typically unexpected Uranus move that their best hope of success was to advance along the entire Soviet Union frontier, hundreds of miles, and proceeded to lose almost masses of people. Soviet Union, absolutely huge. Russia, gigantic place. Big winter. You would think perhaps they would have learned something from Napoleon when he actually got there. And as I recently found out in War and Peace, great TV production, Anthony Hopkins on YouTube, I recommend it. Napoleon got to Russia, got to Moscow, took over Moscow. It's so huge that the Russians just left Moscow to him, retreated into the countryside, and waited for the winter, knowing that Napoleon's entire army was going to get frozen to death. Napoleon ended up kind of abandoning his troops pretty much and getting on a sled. But I digress. This kind of thing it's perfectly possible to, as Germany found, be a little bit over optimistic and, dare I say, hubristic, and try and take on too much. Alternatively, Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus in Britain meant that we essentially found ourselves surrounded by U-boats and dangerous kind of forces. So it became self-sufficient on our own agricultural produce to an extent that we probably hadn't been for, I don't know, maybe a century, I don't know. So we revolutionized our farming. So there was like 2/3 of the food eaten by people in the UK was produced in the UK. So these are possibilities and to look at here, and perhaps a word of caution, because Jupiter never knows when to stop, really. The Soviet Union, yeah, possible. That's what they thought. Now, Jupiter and Uranus, they meet every 13 years. So you could also check 2001, 1988, 1975, any patterns that seem relevant then. Mars is also with Saturn, as I say, in Pisces. So, sextile in Jupiter and Uranus, giving some excellent practical, mystical support to these exciting adventures. Now, then, so after that, pretty soon, Jupiter enters the sign of the twins, Gemini. Yeah, it kind of lightens up things. It's less about practical matters, and with Jupiter in Taurus, it's less danger of eating too many sweet things, really, let's face it. And explorers encourage us to explore a neighborhood, try out new ideas, new technology, new circles of friends. And Mars comes along and meets him in the middle of August to start a new 2-year cycle around expansive adventures in a communicative, technological sense. Jupiter, as I said, trines Pluto, and but Jupiter will square Saturn a couple of times, which 19th of August, 24th of December, and also after his retrograde in June 2025, when Jupiter and Saturn have gone to different signs. So, it can be possible to kind of get a bit too focused in talking rather than doing. It can be a little bit too focused on, oh, look at something shiny, and not really getting on with anything. So, get a bit of reality from the practical mystic. Saturn in Pisces will help us out there. So then we move to the eclipses. 25th of March, full moon, partial eclipse, Libra, trine Pluto, and it's sextile Pallas Athena, who is in Sagittarius at that point. Pallas Athena spends most of the year in Scorpio, but has a brief recce into Sagittarius. So as I say, releasing dissonant connections, looking at the imbalance in partnerships and with our friends, and perhaps dropping some things that we're just not that involved in. Pallas Athena helps us to be kind of fairly strategic, and as we become more aware of less resonant connections we have. And then, as I said, the full moon partial eclipse is not so strong because it's partial, but there's a very strong eclipse in April, total solar eclipse with a new moon, retrograde Mercury, as I say. So it's important to kind of communicate sensitively at this point, where things communicated can be extremely painful if we're not careful. But also it can be harsh truths that will help us to really upgrade our life and start new life script changing initiatives. As I say, this might be old messages that people have been trying to tell us for ages. And finally, they get through this solar eclipse. Now we have April, as I said, 10th of April, Mars conjunct Saturn, 14 degrees Pisces. This is very much about taking action on our dreams, actively producing art, painting, writing, films, and being just more practical. I mean, my book just kind of fell off my lap a little bit as I said the word films. But this seems to be a key part of the Saturn in Pisces cycle, because Mars has a 2-year cycle, and obviously Saturn's more 2.5 years, 3 years. So so I've just checked, and this is the only time that Mars will be conjunct Saturn while Saturn is in Pisces, which with Saturn having a 29.5-year cycle means that there won't be another opportunity like this for decades to work on those mystical skills of Pisces or those artistic projects with the benefit of the potential energies of Saturn in Pisces to kind of help us along. So this is a key opportunity here, which I would suggest should not be wasted. Similarly, Mars will conjunct Neptune, who's also coming towards the end of his time in Pisces as well at 28 degrees. So this is quite late on in Pisces, 2 degrees to go. So I would say April is a critical opportunity to for these kind of Piscean pursuits to start these cycles off that won't be seen again for Neptune won't be in Pisces for another like 160 years. So, this won't come again for a while. I would definitely any kind of artistic, mystical, uh, any kind of pursuits like those on a Piscean level, I would just in April just go, go with them. Now, I have mentioned this before, the Nessus Theseus opposition, the Nessus in Pisces, Theseus in is it Theseus or Thereus? I might have spelled that wrong. Thereus. Dear, oh dear. I might have mistakenly written the name of the hero of various Greek um, mythologies. I think it's Theseus. Was he the person who defeated Medusa with a mirror? Not sure. Anyway, Nessus Thereus. This cycle's been going on uh, since 14th of October 2022, 18th February 2023, 27th of August 2023, and late May, early June, it will continue. Now, as I say, this it's important to look at what links these dates in your life. And it speaks of the hunter, Thereus, it's like hunter, stalker. Nessus is more kind of violent, um, unprovoked kind of attacker. So checking our entourage, physical, non-physical entourage, and I think if we look around, particularly in the media, you can see various people who are just not necessarily attacking, but are just like staying present, just waiting for their chance to, do various things which are not particularly pleasant for other people. So, not giving our power away, not agreeing with these things, you know, on a physical level, perhaps detoxing parasites and heavy metals and various toxins, energetically processing those patterns which make these things resonant, in such as is what they call in the Benza's terminology, which I recommend in the classes, particularly rules of engagement, victim aggressor cycles, martyr savior complexes. In this particular aspect, I would particularly recommend going onto YouTube and searching for the Sky Priestess, Barave, and I don't know how to say her name, the second name. It was a very, very helpful in terms of highlighting this and did some excellent original research into this aspect. Also in early June, Venus meets the Sun, sextile the true north node. True north node is different to the mean north node, which is more of a mathematical calculation. True north node is um, kind of, well, it's a point in the sky that indicates where we want to move towards at this point. With Aries, that means we want to focusing on initiating things, pioneering, adventurous, and starting things off. This Venus star point will be square Saturn, so being careful to act in integrity with the master of mysticism, Pisces and Saturn looking on. Show that we're committed to things that we speak about is important because the Venus star point is in Gemini. It was very chatty, very, light-hearted, bubbly, kind of sociable, and really speaks feelings. At the same time, Juno, the asteroid Juno of commitment and marriage and things like this, is opposite the Venus star point Virgo, who's also very interested in communication and is checking to see if Venus is just kind of saying things and not really meaning them, perhaps, or just being a little bit too careless in her communications. and kind of elder asteroid. Juno, she will be checking this. Virgo is of course ruled by Mercury, as is Gemini. So it's a very chatty period there. Good chatting people up kind of aspect. And later on, we have the Grand Water Trine, 16th of June, or around that time. Neptune, Pisces, going backwards and forwards. Pallas Athena. It's quite a retrograde period in the year. Goes from Scorpio into Sagittarius, and then Pallas Athena goes back into Scorpio, which means that Neptune and Pallas Athena will be trine 3 times in January, May, and August. So it's with Vesta in Cancer, this is a very emotional period here. It's very much indicates heightened sense of empathy and nurturing. We're very sensitive to psychic energies around ourselves, very intuitive, perhaps paying attention to our dreams and gut feelings. Excellent for healing stories. And Pallas Athena in Scorpio is very wise, very good at kind of finding out secret information that will be helpful for us and helping us with our strategies. And then we move into mid-July, where, as I said, Mars, who's just met Jupiter, and Jupiter and Uranus have just started off this amazing kind of adventure, which might possibly be biting off more than they can chew, but at the same time could actually be hugely beneficial transformations, perhaps in finances, food, uh, various kind of romantic areas with also our connection to the planet. Mars will come along and give us a bit more impetus to get on with it, take some action. At the same time, with Mars and Uranus working together, things they might be a little bit unpredictable. It might kind of just, suddenly take on a completely different set of activities that you would never have thought that person would do. Should be some jaw-dropping financial shifts in this period with Mars, Uranus, and Jupiter all having put their energy into Taurus, and we're coming towards the end of Uranus and Taurus. I mean, there might be a couple of years left, but pretty soon Uranus will start to explore Gemini in like a year or two. But for now, yeah, there's a lot going on there. A lot going on at the end of Taurus. Now we come to a big retrograde of Mars. Mars get into Cancer at the start of September. At the start of October, he'll enter what we call a retrograde shadow, where he'll be going forwards to 6 degrees Leo on the 6th of December, then going retrograde, turning direct in late February next year, 2025, and eventually leaving his retrograde shadow 2nd of May, which is it's quite a while. It's like 7 months in the retrograde shadow. So, all of our activities will be pretty much under the microscope for a while, because Pluto at the end of Capricorn, beginning of Aquarius, will be opposing the action man, saying like, what are you doing, Mars? Why are you doing things like that? Why can't you be more constructive? Why, and Mars, proud kind of warrior, might take this all a bit personally, might need to, process some ego issues, might need to look deep into some kind of fears and programs that are artificially limiting what he's doing? Is he really doing what he wants to do? Or is he just in kind of old patterns? Mars will mainly be in Cancer, so these could be things that we're doing around the home, around family, at the boundaries of our homes, for example. Could be perhaps tensions in the family will finally be removed potentially in this period. There's great possibility for internal empowerment and change through processing things. When Mars is in Leo, which in November and December in particular, it could be kind of fairly dramatic. It's very much an aspect of like kingly aspect, Mars in Leo. So you kind of wonder what will happen, particularly with the monarchy of the UK or other kind of monarchs, such as the president of places like the USA and their kind of dynasties, where most people um, seem to look at the British royal family, but you look at the American presidential system and how it's always the same people related to the same families. I mean, I saw a video by David Icke where even Meghan Markle was related to US presidents or presidential candidates. Uh, so, yeah, interested to see what would happen there with these powerful figures in politics and monarchies, and how they are kind of face transformations, particularly at the end of 2024, early period of 2025. I mean, certainly in the UK, it seemed to me that there were big changes happening with older members of the royal family dying, and shortly after they're apparently taking various so-called injections. So for us, for most people, this would be a period of conserving our energies and perhaps coming to terms with explosive revelations. Pluto in Aquarius will reveal about unscientific modus operandi, and really seeing through the veil of various illusions that we might have held about our physical health, which Mars is very much embodiment of vitality and energy. And Pluto will make clear the exact state of the health of Mars. As I say, with Mars retrograde, it's obviously masculine energies. So reevaluating these kind of things can be present here, particularly in the family. Mars and Cancer is more like the energetic kind of younger male figures. So that'd be very interesting to see how that unfolds. Yeah. Now we have the second set of eclipses this year, September, October. 17th of September, the full moon lunar eclipse, 25 degrees Pisces, conjunct Neptune, square Mercury, Venus, and Saturn, sextile Uranus and Pluto. So this is a releasing kind of eclipse with the lunar eclipse. It's the first of two or 3 years of Pisces Virgo eclipses. So I would suggest this is about releasing and seeing through delusions, the lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune, and particularly square Saturn in Pisces, who's really opening our eyes to things, the ideals that we held that we thought were true, and are turning out not to be quite so, and developing a more practical view of our dreams and our feelings about situations. And also square Mercury and Venus, I should say, who are in Virgo. I'll just check that. Maybe I might have made a slight error there. Hopefully not. Whew. Yeah, just spotted that in time. Yeah, so it's conjunct the eclipse on the 17th of September is conjunct Neptune and square Jupiter, not square Mercury, Venus, or Saturn. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. So this is part of the uh, Jupiter squaring the planets in Pisces, such as this Saturn in Pisces. In this case, Neptune, as Jupiter will go forwards and backwards around that 20 degrees Gemini period. But this one will be anyway, Jupiter will be square the eclipse. So it could make things seem bigger than they are. It might exaggerate things slightly. You might see that we might get kind of the scales falling from people's eyes, but it might be seem much worse than it is, or it might exaggerate things to a level that the whole world appears like some kind of surreal joke. Uh, be careful with Jupiter and Neptune working together like that, particularly when they're squaring each other with an eclipse as well. So it's quite a surreal eclipse in some ways, or we might get a real insight into how our kind of dreams, daydreams, and physical reality intertwine. Then we go on to the final eclipse of the year, 2nd of October, the Ring of Fire eclipse, 10 degrees Libra. I say it's conjunct Mercury, Black Moon Lilith, who's very much not going to take any nonsense from anyone. Is not going to go around following other people's orders. Thank you very much. And also conjunct the South Node. So this is another eclipse that's a releasing eclipse we're looking at here. And it could be that we get some kind of messages about people that we know, or we get some kind of communication that really kind of puts people in a whole different light. And we're like, whoa, I would never have thought that. That's unbelievable. So yeah, just kind of trying to keep an open mind, trying to be too kind of stunned, I would think, about what's revealed about people at this point. Particularly, this is with Libra, this is about partnerships and spouses and kind of connections. So it's kind of also indicates with Libra about justice, about a rebalancing of situations, perhaps legal action around fake injections and fake views of so-called climate change, man-made climate change, that big lie can be seen more visibly at this point and really can lead to some major repercussions. It's square Ceres, the Earth goddess, the nurturing Earth goddess. So of Gaia, I mean. So that's about indicates, yeah, just be very aware of our connection to Gaia. For example, it could be people becoming more aware of the cloud making kind of chemtrail planes and exactly what's in those sprays. And yeah, this could be quite a big thing. And these eclipses will be particularly powerful over the 6 months after that during the Mars retrograde with the oppositions to Pluto. So, I say these really big mass awakening kind of aspects here we're seeing all the time. Then we get to late November, and there's a fantastic grand fire trine Sun in Sagittarius, Mars just slowing down before going retrograde in Leo, and North Node, the final kind of period at the beginning of Aries, kind of orchestrations of passion, inspirational, creative action, kind of bold projects indicated here, to which it might not be so easy to kind of take action on while Mars goes retrograde. But these are these things that very exciting explorations and adventures can become possible. I would say, like, this is a great period for going on a nice adventurous holiday, for example, or doing some kind of group work in on a new project that hopefully you want to finish it before Mars goes retrograde, start of December. Careful with those matches, of course, with the fire being so powerful in this grand fire trine. Now, coming towards the end, I just want to mention an aspect in aspects involving Chiron. As I said, there'll be Chiron conjunct the North Node around Valentine's Day, 19th of April, indicating significant shifts around that week. And then in late July, Chiron will get to 23 degrees Aries, and this will be almost conjunct Eris, the very disruptive Eris, the planet that managed to replace Pluto as an official planet recently, or maybe was it a decade or two ago? I don't know. Maybe somebody could let me know. Anyway, that's astronomy. And yeah, Eris has been obviously in a long kind of square period with Pluto, which is now finally dissipating. Now that Pluto's moving more fully into Aquarius and away, but more than 5 degrees away from the square with Chiron around 24 Aries, Eris around 24 degrees Aries, I mean, not Chiron. So Chiron is moving into a conjunction with Eris, but he won't quite get there. He'll get to 23 degrees, get 2 degrees away from his conjunction in late July 2024. And this indicates huge kind of disruptive events which can completely alter our kind of life course, which I would indicate with Chiron in Aries, but a lot of people's physical health has been very much compromised by so-called injections last few years. And this indicates to me this will be a period where this will become really blatantly obvious, particularly when Chiron conjuncts Eris 3 times. First 2 times in 2025, third time in 2026, and they will still be square each other until 2028. So for the next like 4 years, 2024 to 2028, this, I would suggest, becomes really, really obvious. And all the kind of masks of people who've been promoting this lunacy will really slip. And I, you just, hopefully this will be in the gentlest kind of way possible. But these signs are both in Aries, so it could be fairly volatile. For the asteroids, as I say, Pallas Athena goes from Scorpio into Sagittarius and then back into Scorpio and then back into Sagittarius and then finally gets to Capricorn in December. Vesta, Gemini and Libra. Juno, it's a long stay in Virgo, checking all the documents, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and everything, going through all the details of communications until August, then gets to Libra and Scorpio. Ceres and Sagittarius, and there's quite a long stay in Capricorn, indicating that we feel nourished by traditions and established institutions, which would be quite nice to have series in Capricorn after Pluto has been decimating Capricorn elements that are out of integrity for the last like 15, 16 years. And then finally gets to Aquarius at the end of the year. So just here at the end, I've just itemized the Mercury retrograde periods. You see they're in Capricorn and Sagittarius, in Aries, in Virgo and Leo, and also Sagittarius. So you can see it's a very much a fire-based series of Mercury retrogrades there. So just kind of trying not to kind of put a foot in it kind of when we say something, which is a typical Mercury and Sagittarius issue. And, you know, trying to keep a lid on kind of any kind of volatile outbursts will serve as well, I would say, looking at that. And also here are the new moons and full moons with the eclipses for the full moons and new moons in March, April, September, and October through the year, which hopefully we'll be able to look at in more detail. And finally, just as the outer planets, I have made a video about Saturn in Pisces, and it's also Uranus and Taurus, Neptune, Pisces, Pluto, finally leaving Capricorn for good this year into Aquarius. So that's it for my summary of 2024. Hopefully this will be of use to you if you have stayed here this long. I congratulate you on your dedication. And I would really much appreciate it if you could share this recording or podcast with your friends and other people. Go and visit my website, www.leedorset.com, where all these astrology readings are. There are details of where you can purchase readings for yourself or other people, like personality readings or transit readings, or readings about ventures that you want to you're considering trying or you have started. And there's also a Telegram group, which is got some interesting conversations from time to time on there. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll have a very powerful and effective 2024. Yeah, goodbye.